Hey everybody, friends, here's Gold Recap. And today I'm going to tell you about a Chinese romantic drama movie called You're Still Here. The film begins with a beautiful young girl named Su Yunjin. She wanders the streets looking for someone special and stops and looks at someone in the distance. The scene changes. We are transported to 2007, where Su Yunjin is waiting for a bus. She tells the story of her family's hard times and her father's illness. She mentions that even though they are having financial problems, her parents managed to send her to a better college for her higher education. They reach the college, and she seems sad compared to the other students. As she's looking closely, a motorcycle rides past her and over the tube she flaps, making the girl all wet. The wet boy is introduced to us as Chang Jiang. He is from a wealthy family and the most popular in the school. Su Yunjin furiously rushes to Chang to scold him. With unique speed, Chang catches, throws a baseball at her and, as she leaves, asks her to be careful. At school, Su Yunjin befriends another student, Maro Yuha, who also has a poor family. Her husband tells her that he will help her adapt to her new school. She then meets three new friends, John Zi and Song Monk. Later, the MOs bring her to class, where she sits in front of Jang Gum. In the next scene, after a math test, the results are revealed. We learn that Su Yunjin has a very low score, while the bank has a higher score. After seeing Su Yunjin's grade, Munch mocks her after Su Yunjin is about to go to the bathroom, and Chang stops her. Taking her book, she struggles to put the book back down, but fails. Suddenly the pad falls from the book. Su Yunjin, embarrassed, walks away. After the incident, Chang feels guilty for disturbing and humiliating Su Yunjin. In the next class, Chang tries to return the girl's book by poking her from behind, but Su Yunjin does not respond. After that, Chang throws the book on her desk. Annoyed by Chang's behavior, Su Yunjin picks up her chair and puts it on his leg. Why is the guy yelling? And then he opens the book that Chang just threw and is surprised to see that he has corrected all of her mistakes. During lunch, Hong and Chang walk up to Su Yunjin and inform him that Chang has an injury to his leg. Hearing this, Su Yunjin offers them her card for his treatment. However, the guys with the card buy lunch for all their classmates. Later, Mo approaches the bank and mentions that Su Yunjin's card money was her pocket money for the month. After school, we see Su Yunjin standing on the roof of the school thinking about something. Chang comes over there and teases Su Yunjin, pulling her hair to correct her mistakes. Chang asks Su Yunjin if he can help her with her math. Yujin leaves, and Chang asks her to think about his offer. Su Yunjin recalls her teacher saying to raise her math grades. She finally agrees. After school, Chang begins to teach Su Yunjin math regularly, though Chang's behavior annoys her, but she slowly begins to enjoy learning from Chang. Surprisingly, Su Yunjin gets an 85 on her math test, and Chang is very happy to see her improve as they spend a lot of time together. Su Yunjin and Chang begin to grow closer. However, Su Yunjin has to leave school because of family difficulties. She does not return to school for a while she is away. Chang becomes distracted from her studies and loses her concentration. One day, Mou sits down in Su Yunjin's seat. Chang angrily confronts her about it. However, she replies that Su Yunjin asked her to sit there. Hearing that she has returned and is now in the dormitory, Chang immediately runs to her room and knocks on the door. After several knocks, Su Yunjin cries open the door with a black armband on her hand. The black bandage implies that her father is dead. Chang tries to talk to Su Yunjin, but she ignores him and asks him to stay away from her. A couple of years go by. They have a prom night coming up. Chung can't take her eyes off Su Yunjin. Moore decides to express her love for Joe and gets up the courage to ask him to dance with her. Chang approaches Su Yunjin and asks her to dance, to which she agrees. After the party, after going outside, they go for a walk together. Chang expresses her love to Su Yunjin. She, without saying anything, gently kisses the guy. He thinks she's expressing her consent to the relationship, but in fact it's a goodbye kiss. Su Yunjin thinks that the Chang family is rich and will never accept her. So she decides to break up with Chang and leaves, leaving him alone in the dark. A year passes. Su Yunjin is now in college, paying her own tuition and working in the library. There she meets a high school student, John, who seems like a kind person as they work together. They build a special bond with each other. One day Su Yunjin is able to talk. She talks about Shen. What a good man he is who genuinely cares about her. While they are talking, Su Yunjin hears someone calling her name. She runs outside to find that person. It turns out to be Chang. He approaches her like it was him. It's been so long since they've seen each other. They have an awkward conversation. Su Yunjin tries to leave, but Chang stops her. Meanwhile, Chang approaches and introduces himself as Su Yunjin's boyfriend. Unexpectedly, Chang also introduces himself as the girl's boyfriend. However, Su Yunjin interrupts Chang's words and says that he is just a longtime classmate. Shin then reminds Su Yunjin of the plan to visit the countryside. Hearing this, Chang offers to give them a ride. Sister Chang fervently introduces herself to Shine. Later, they reach the temple, where they pray and write their wishes on paper. Su Yunjin tries to look into what Chang is writing, but he steps aside and hides what he has written. Later, they leave the temple, and Chung asks Shin to go with her to buy some water. So Chang and Su Yunjin are alone. Chung asks Su Yunjin why she left him and isn't interested in him at all. Not hearing an answer, he forcibly shouts at Su Yunjin. Shin sees this from a distance. After visiting the temple, the group goes to a restaurant. There, Chang mentions their first kiss and makes Su Yunjin have a drink, annoyed by Chang's behavior. She drinks a drink that makes her dizzy and falls unconscious. Despite her drunken state, she keeps saying Chang's name. On stage, Su Yunjin tries to talk to her son, but he ignores her, telling her that she still loves Chang. Hearing this, she goes to Chang's hotel room and scolds him for his earlier behavior. Instead of apologizing, Chang replies that he too suffered a lot after she dumped him on prom night. A year later, Su Yunjin has graduated from college and is single again in life. Chung has not contacted her since the incident. Su Yunjin's mother asks her to return home for an important family matter. Su Yunjin finishes her business and makes her way to her hometown. It turns out that her mother wants to marry her off to Uncle Wu, who helped the family in critical situations for her mother's happiness. Su Yunjin accepts the proposal. As they were walking with her mother, out of nowhere, Chang appears. Before her, Chang visits Su Yunjin's house, where we learn that he is there to work with her mother since he recently bought an electric company in the neighborhood. Later, he annoys Su Yunjin, who is busy making a paper bunny. Chang tries to make Odin, but Su Yunjin underestimates him. Afterwards, she leaves Chang and he makes paper bunnies all night. The next day, Su Yunjin comes to Chang's house and finds him sleeping with 5 rabbits. We see Chang working hard. We see Su Yunjin begin to like him. Chang asks her to come to Beijing after graduation. In the next scene, Su Yunjin applies for a job in Beijing as her graduation approaches. She has applied for a lot of jobs in Beijing, but no one responds. But suddenly she receives a job offer from Shanghai and accepts it. Chang calls her at the same time and tells her that he found a job for her in Beijing. But when Su Yunjin tells him that she accepted the job in Shanghai, he gets angry and disconnects the phone, and for guilt, Su Yunjin decides to visit Chang by train. At this time, Chang calls her to apologize for her behavior and tells her that he is on his way to Shanghai to meet her. Because of this, they decide to stop at the station, which is in the middle. They finally meet and are very happy. You'll be together. They spend the night in a nearby hotel doing adult things. Several years pass again. We see Chang and Su Yunjin about arranging a new apartment. Later, Chang leads Su Yunjin to his sister's engagement ceremony. Upon getting there, they are surprised to see Chang as the groom. Chang tries to explain to Shang that Shang is not a good husband for her and seeks her property. Shane approaches Su Yunjin and tells her that she is really with Chung for her wealth. Hearing this, the girl asks him to take care of Joan and not to hurt her. In the next scene, Su Yunjin visits Uncle Wu. He explains that her mother has been to see him and informs him that she has been diagnosed with cervical cancer. Before she died, her father borrowed some money from the factory where he worked. Now it's time to return the money. So he asks Su Yunjin for help. Afterwards, Su Yunjin calls her friends and asks to borrow money, but none of them can pawn a huge amount of money. When Su Yunjin returns home, Chang tells her that he called Uncle Wu, and knowing her mother's condition, he also gives her 300,000 yen and asks her to give it to her uncle to repay the debt. However, Su Yunjin refuses to take the money, saying that Shan has already helped her with the money. Upon hearing this, Chang becomes angry and in a rage he heads straight for and throws money in his face, asking him to stay away from his personal affairs. In the next scene, Chung and his friends are at a bar drinking without a second thought. Su Yunjin calls and informs her of his whereabouts, and in a flash Su Yunjin arrives and asks the punk to come home.
He refuses and instead hugs Mo to make her jealous.
Seeing this, Soo-Yoon-jin asks his friends to take him home after the party and leaves. Late at night, Jong comes home drunk and collapses on the couch. Yuzin approaches him and gives him a letter in which she declares that she owes him 300,000 yen. Annoyed at her behavior, Chan yells at her saying that even after all these years of living together, she still can't love him. Because of this, he decides that they should break up. The scene then quickly moves forward 2 years. When Soo-Young-jin visited the same temple with Jangum, even though it's been a long time since they separated, she still can't forget Young. She decides to find out what Chong wrote on the wish list when she finally visited the temple. After some time, she finally finds the manga sheet and reads and is surprised that he wrote her name on all the sheets. A year passes. Soo-Yoon-jin visits New York City in search of Kong. She walks the streets and asks people about the place where Kong is staying. After some time, she finally reaches her destination and sees Chang from afar. Suddenly she notices that Chang is helping a pregnant woman into a car. Upon seeing this, Soo-Yoon-jin can't control her tears and chooses to leave. Luckily, Hang's car drives past Soo-Yoon-jin. He recognizes her. And when he stops the car and gets out behind Soo-Yoon-jin, it's too late, he can't find her anywhere. The last scenes of the movie we see Soo-Yoon-jin standing on top of the school building. Thinking back to the old days, as suddenly someone pulls her by her hair. When she turns around, she is surprised to see Django, who asks her if she was in New York, looking for him. Only she stands and does not answer his question. Later, he shows her a video of a pregnant lady he helped in New York and tells her that she is an old friend of his. Soo-Yoon-jin begins to cry in the manga's arms, and the movie ends with the two reuniting on the roof of their old school building. That's it, gentlemen. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment and like it. See you soon. Take care.